Hey, this is Keith Kelfis, and I have a special message for you. I really hope I see you at the 2021 Launchpreneur Academy live event this November in Novi, Michigan, and get your ticket. There's a little less known reason for small business failure that people don't talk about, and sometimes it can actually be burnout and depression. Because if you're out there 50, 60 hours a week running your business and you start to feel isolated, especially with a year like we've had this last year, it's been crazy, and you don't have anywhere to go except for like social media to talk about the conversations that are going on in your head, and you're just stuck like in an echo chamber. That can get unhealthy quick. You come to a live event like Launchpreneur Academy and you get around these A players, a place that breeds high performance. It's like an upgrade to your mindset. It validates the thoughts that you have, that you're not crazy, and it presses the reset button on everything. It's a checkup from the neck up. I've been to Brian's events and they're absolutely awesome, and I wouldn't miss it for anything. So I really hope I see you there. I hope you get a ticket and come there, especially if you're feeling isolated in your business. Come out to the event, get your ticket, and don't miss it. I'll see you there.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging out with you guys. Good morning. Well, happy Friday to so many of you guys. Hopefully you survived the work week and everything that we got going on in the green industry and in our lawn and landscaping businesses. We're finishing up strong here ourselves. We're actually mowing today. We're mowing as we speak, listening to this episode live. I'm actually putting this little bumper on this episode of Julio Tome's Friday takeover here, just about a night or two early before Friday morning here. So here's the deal. A lot of you guys know Julio Tome. He runs the Lawn Care Business Success podcast. In fact, Julio, with his podcast, he's probably one of the oldest, OGest, if you will, podcasters in the green industry space that at least I know of or that I can remember. Julio's had his podcast for about 4 or 5 years now and has cranked out a couple hundred episodes, which is no small feat. Actually, I owe a lot of credit to getting the inspiration to start a podcast way back with Julio, and then my friend Paul with the Green Industry Podcast really helped me to hit the ground running, get my podcast launched, and teach me the ropes. Well, if you guys have not heard Julio Tome with Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, I think you guys are in for a treat. We're going to do a little Friday feature, a little Friday takeover here over the last few Fridays, the next couple of Fridays. You guys are really enjoying the show that we have with the guests on. In fact, last week with Naylor with the LCR Media Podcast, that show did really, really well. The downloads were up big time. So what that means to me is that you guys want to hear less of me and more of these guys, which is totally cool, totally fun. And I have a very humbled ego, and so no big deal to me. You know, I love having these guys take over the show on Fridays. Well, without any further ado, I want to just give the platform to Lawn Care Business Success Julio, hear what he has to say. I have not proofed the podcast, so I'm going to listen to it real time with you guys as well. And like I said, as we're listening to this, I'm out there mowing, finishing up on Friday strong as well. So hopefully you guys are having a great week. If you guys are going out there for the weekend, hopefully you guys are able to listen to these backlogged episodes from Monday, Wednesday, Friday as you guys go and mow grass on Saturday and Sunday. So shout out to all my weekend warrior friends. And then also shout out to all of you guys as well that finished the week strong, you know, and are taking the rest of the weekend off. Or maybe you're pulling some midnight oil and you guys are working those Saturdays and Sundays even this time of year, getting those fall aeration and overseedings done. Or maybe you're putting your snow contracts together, right? Little plug there for Launchpreneur Academy with our downloadable, editable snow contracts. All right, guys. Well, without further ado, Lawn Care Business Success Julio. He's up in the Pacific Northwest. I think he's in BC, British Columbia, Vancouver area. I don't know if that's the same place or state or country or province. I'm not, guys, I live in the U.S. We are a little geologically incompetent, okay? Work with me here. So that's a joke, by the way. We're geographically incompetent. Just having some fun. But he is over there in the Pacific Northwest. Totally different business model, totally different weather conditions, totally different equipment that those guys use. Julio has been in the business, in the industry for over 10 years. I know that, maybe even longer, with his own company called Cloverdale Mowing. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy listening to Julio and what he has to say, sharing about some of his business failures, some of his blunders, and beyond that, we're going to listen together, all right? So let's do this really quick. Before we introduce Julio Tome with the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, we're going to kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, down in the ATL. Hear a little bit more from today's show sponsors. Guys, by the way, I know you guys hear the episodes. I know you guys hear the podcast. I know you guys hear the sponsors. Thank you for supporting them. In all sincerity, just to take a quick time out before we just kind of go through the mill here with the introductions, thanks for taking time to support them. Thanks for using the Brian's 10 code. Thanks for considering those products. Thanks for considering those mowers, those brands, those shoes, those headphones, whatnot, so on and so forth. We really do appreciate you guys using those codes and supporting those folks, tagging them on Instagram, letting them know that you heard about them from the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It goes a long way to helping them, see that their ad dollars is at work, investing into our platinum, to our platform, if you will, to share that kind of content back out there in the community with you guys. So without further ado, guys, let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, down in the ATL. We're going to hear from today's show sponsor, and we're going to hear a little bit more from Lawn Care Business Success, Julio.
Yeah, this is just a job. Kind of like this is just a blower, and you're just some friends taking in the fall colors. The Echo PB 9010, 220 mile per hour wind speeds, 1,100 cubic feet per minute of bye-bye. It's just the most powerful backpack blower in the world. So maybe that was just a job after all. Echo, power on and on.
Mr. Producer here, and I love quality audio. That's why I recommend IsoTunes. Save 10% on your next purchase with Brian's 10 at checkout. That's isotunes.com.
Welcome, Fullerton Unfiltered fans. My name is Julio Tome, and I'll be your host of this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Many of you guys will know me from my own podcast, the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, where I've been putting out episodes every Tuesday morning since 2015. I invite you to check that out if you haven't done so already. So Brian reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in hosting a sort of Friday takeover episode of his podcast and maybe share some fun stories of things and events that have happened to me during my career in lawn care. And I thought that would be a great idea. Sounded like a lot of fun. And it's actually one of the questions that I ask my guests on my podcast when I'm interviewing them, is if they can share a fun story of an event or something that's happened to them during the course of their work. So many of you guys that follow me will know that I've been in business since roughly 2005, so about 16 seasons now. And during that course of time, there's been quite a few fun little stories to share. So I'm going to start off with one where I was quite a few years ago mowing a customer's lawn, and it was a corner lot in this sort of new neighborhood. It was sort of under development. There were still portions of the neighborhood where there was undeveloped properties, and it was kind of forested, but all the streets were developed, just not the house lots in particular. So this, row of houses that I was working on, I was on the corner lot house, and the property behind it, which was going to be another house, a row of houses along the backside of these first set of houses, were undeveloped. So it was still a little bit of forest and trees and stuff, but not like really super dense forest or anything, just some trees and stuff. Not a huge deal. At any rate, I was going along the outside perimeter, and these houses were all fenced off sort of neighborhoods where each house has a lot of fences and stuff, and they were pretty, I would say, upscale homes. The fences and backyards were all gated and locked, and I had keys to each of the customers' properties that I would work at, and to be able to unlock the gates to get into the backyard to mow. And these are houses that I'm predominantly mowing with push mowers, 21-inch commercial push mowers and stuff. So at any rate, I was coming up along the street, along the because, like I said, it was a corner lot property, and I was doing the trimming and edging on the outside of the fence. There'd be like a little strip of grass between the fence and the sidewalk. And I was coming up along the street, walking towards those undeveloped properties that were behind my customer's property. And as I was doing so, this car was coming down the street, and he was started flashing his headlights on at me, and I could see him sticking his arm out the driver's window, and he was waving his arm pretty intently at me to try to get my attention. So I thought, hey, perfect. Like, another, potential customer pulling up probably wants me to give him a quote on one of his, probably lives in the neighborhood here and wants a quote. And as he approached, he was making sort of like a stop sign with his hand, sort of gesturing to me to stop. So I kind of realized this and stopped, and he kind of swerved and pulled up close to me, and he says, "Turn back." There's actually a black bear walking along the backside of this fence, and you guys are about to meet at that corner. So I was like, whoa, thanks for warning me about that. So I thought, like, where am I going to go here if the black bear is coming in that direction and he's about to sort of, pop out around the corner here? So I thought, well, I'll get into the backyard of this customer's property. So I walked down a little ways to the driveway. And, I was a bit nervous and stuff, obviously, because there's a black bear coming. And I was fumbling with the keys. And this was a gate, sort of like a driveway gate where you can kind of reach through the bars and stuff and get to the lock on the other side. So I was reaching through, and I had my keys, and kind of nervously trying to get the key in the lock and stuff. And I managed to unlock all the while, kind of like looking over my shoulder to see if I could see the bear rounding that corner. Coming up. And so I finally got the lock undone and opened the gate, and I went inside, and I closed the gate behind me, and I put the lock on it. And almost immediately, as soon as I locked that gate, I heard a noise, and I look over my shoulder, and the bear had just actually climbed over the fence and jumped into the backyard that I had just locked myself into. So here I am again trying to grab the keys off of my belt loop, and I'm trying to fumble with the keys again. Luckily, the bear, I don't know if he noticed me or didn't notice me, but he wasn't interested in me, and he was just walking across the yard in the opposite direction. Needless to say, I was still trying to fiddle with the lock, and got the lock opened, and was able to, get myself outside of the gate and close the gate. And I just went to my truck, and which was parked around the front. And I just got inside the truck. And then, the bear I had noticed, because my truck was sort of parked in such a way that I could see between the two houses, like between that house that I was servicing and the next house. And saw the bear do the same thing. I saw him pop up over the fence, and then he went into the next neighbor's backyard. And it was just amazing how easily the bear would just, hop over these, sort of 6-foot cedar type fences. It was like not an obstacle at all for the bear. And he just kind of did that. I ended up getting in the truck. Like I say, I started the truck up and then kind of did a U-turn at the end of the block, and then started following down along the houses, and he was just cutting through yards and just going fence over fence over fence, from one house to another, and if he spent a little bit of time in a backyard or so, a couple minutes, then you'd see him pop up over the fence again and go to the next one. So that was a pretty interesting day with that, and I actually ended up getting some video footage of that with my smartphone at the time. It was sort of at the beginning of when smartphones were a thing, and have some video footage of that. It's very, very grainy footage from the camera, quality of smartphones back in the day. But that was a very memorable day that I, obviously will never forget the day where I almost came face to face with a black bear while mowing a lawn. So the next interesting story that I have was one that seems to be one that happens to a lot of guys on, the day that they buy a brand new piece of equipment. Anytime you buy a new mower, it's an exciting day. And for me, this day came in 2007, so only a couple years, one or two, I think it was my second season of being in business. And I decided to purchase a walker mower. I picked out a 2007 MT23 GHS motor. So these are those walker mowers, if you're not familiar with them, the ones that have the big white hopper box on the back, and the ones that have like the sort of the out front deck on them, you sit on them and your feet kind of rest on the deck, and you do your mowing with that. And they have that whole vacuum system that vacuums and bags everything into that hopper box and on the back. And where I mow in the city and stuff that I work in, everything is bagged. There's no side discharging or things like that. Predominantly, most properties expect you to bag lawns. So I had tried some other mowers and had some issues with different type of bagging setups to do sort of those larger properties, and decided to give these walker type mowers because in terms of a bagging ride-on mower, you can't beat a walker or like the Exmark Navigators, that style of mower that have that whole vacuum type system built in with a hopper box and everything, right? They are bagging mowers. So I went to the dealer to pick up this mower. It was at the time, 2007, I think it would cost me about $14,000. So a very expensive mower back in the day. And, I was loading it up onto my trailer, and the one of the last things the dealer said to me was, if you have any issues or anything, just give me a call. So, little did he know I'd be having to cash in on that offer, and pretty soon. So I ended up taking the mower home first. And at the time, I lived in a little quiet neighborhood with like a cul-de-sac and stuff. And I thought, I'll do some practice, with the mower here. But I have a brand new customer that I've never mowed before. I just went and had a quick look at it, and they have a lawn that was like completely overgrown, and the grass was a foot to a foot and a half tall in areas. And I thought, like, what a perfect a lawn to take a mower that is fantastic at bagging to handle. So I thought, first I'll learn how to drive this thing because I've never ridden one of these mowers before. So I took it to my house first, like I said, and messed with it on my front lawn. Nice and easy, kind of slow. And if you've ever seen a walker mower, it's got those controls for steering are actually between your legs. It's not like a traditional zero turn where you have the sort of the big folding arms on either side of your legs that come up over your lap and fold over once you sit down, and you use each hand to steer each one of the levers. With the walker mowers and like the Exmark Navigators, you sit down, and there's two smaller little handles that are up between your legs, and you actually use your left hand, and it's just fingertip controls, and you can use one hand to steer both of those levers. And then there's a forward sort of speed control lever right beside your right leg, and you can use your left hand with that. And you kind of push it forward to go set your sort of forward speed, and then you just use your fingertips on your left hand to control. So I was learning how to use this type of control system and things, and did about 15 minutes around my cul-de-sac and stuff, and then decided, okay, I'm ready. So I loaded her back up and drove to that customer's property. And I started, unloaded the machine, did their front yard, which wasn't as badly overgrown. It looked like somebody had mowed the front yard at some point, so it wasn't too bad. But then opened up the back gate, started doing the backyard, and the mower was performing fabulously. It was able to mow it really nicely, able to bag all the grass, and I was going along this one section, and it was having no issues at all. And then I went along the back side of the fence. And here's where things started to change a little bit. So I was doing the backside and, looking at the lawn from, any sort of distance. And when I went to quote the lawn and stuff like that, it all looked exactly the same. And, it was all overgrown. So it was kind of hard to tell. But the lawn, as far as the tall grass goes, it looked all the same. But what I didn't realize was that only half of the lawn was level. And that was that first half that I was working on. But as you sort of turn the corner and go along the back fence, the other half was completely unlevel, and it was actually sloping down. It had actually a pretty intense drop, and it sort of sloped down towards the fence. So I was mowing along this back fence, and all of a sudden it was like I drove off a cliff, and I couldn't tell because the lawn was so overgrown. I couldn't see that there was a huge change in that slope, and because of the way that the mower is, with that big sort of hopper box on the back, as soon as I sort of went off that little edge where the elevation then dipped and changed and had this slope. So it was like, I guess at some point the whole lawn was like this, but they had, brought in a lot of dirt and stuff and leveled off that first section to make it flat. So once I got into that section that hadn't been done, and the mower kind of went off this edge, it went sideways. And because there was a cedar fence there dividing that property and the next property behind it, the hopper box kind of wedged itself, and there happened to be like the fence posts where you have fence posts like every 8 feet or so. So the fence post happened to be like right in line with where the back of the seat and the start of the hopper box were. So it kind of fell sideways, and that fence post kind of wedged itself between those sections. And being, number one, freaked out that this had just happened, and completely a newbie on this machine that I just spent $14,000 on, and had really little seat time on the machine, and, experience in how it handled and all that sort of stuff. I was messing with the controls, going like, how do I, kind of get out of here and sort of stuff. And being a zero turn, if you're playing with those controls, one of the nicest things about a zero turn is that they can turn on a dime. Well, with that huge hopper box on the back, I started to try to, get myself unstuck and, kind of turning the machine, but because I wasn't moving forward or backward because of the fence post being wedged there, it was basically kind of just turning on around that fence post. And the next thing I know, that hopper box is completely taking out the whole fence panel. And it's one of those fence panels where there's like, like a 2x4 along the top and like a 2x4 along the bottom, and then all of the, I guess the slats or whatever, there. So it knocked out all of those fence boards, but the hopper box was just under the height of that top 2x4. So now I had the top 2x4 wedged, on like underneath the top of the hopper box. I had the post wedged between the seat and the box. And to make matters worse, the fence that it was dividing wasn't to a yard that was flat. It was to a yard that had maybe a 12-foot drop. So the yard was like 12 foot like lower than the yard I was working in. And to make it even worse on top of that, there was a very angry Rottweiler in that neighbor's yard, and he was not happy that I had just knocked out a bunch of the fence panel and was had my $14,000 machine teetering at the top of this 12-foot drop into his yard. And he was making it very well known that he wasn't happy with, the growling and the snarling and the teeth exposed and all that. And I was just like, OMG, what am I going to do now? Like, what a pickle I've put myself in. I could not, see that change because the grass was just so overgrown. And, I was obviously inexperienced in using the machine, but also generally, pretty inexperienced in business as well, in terms of, it being just a few seasons in and stuff, and, still learning the ropes and stuff and learning how to do things efficiently. Needless to say, I remembered the dealer saying, if you have any issues, to give him a call. So that's what I did. I gave him a call, and he was like, I told him what happened. And this was literally maybe, an hour after I had picked up the machine or so. And he's like, well, that didn't take long. And he asked me for the address and stuff. And to his credit, he came down. And I also called my brother-in-law, who also works in lawn care and has a lawn care business as well. And he came down as well. And he brought some ropes and things as well to try to help out, and also some fencing materials, some new boards and stuff, because these were all like brand new houses and things. So the fence was fairly brand new, and I had knocked out all those fence boards. So I figured, once we pull the walker, get it unstuck, be able to sort of patch up that fence panel by putting all new boards and stuff on it. It was a very interesting day. He had to the credit of my dealer. He actually, we were trying to pull the walker from the front, me and my brother-in-law, with ropes and stuff tied around the front like casters and stuff. And the dealer actually, he went behind and was trying to push. So he was actually, in technically the neighbor's property, in that dog's yard property, on that slope, that sort of like that 12-foot drop. But it was a gradual slope. Luckily, it wasn't like a complete drop off. So he was standing there, and the dog was just like a few feet away from him, when you consider that he's sort of partway down the slope trying to push from the backside, and the dog wasn't going up the slope. The dog wasn't attempting to go up the hill or anything. He was just, I think, in the end, either probably just, more bark than bite, because he wasn't attempting to jump up the thing. But he was still pretty scary. And, if it was me, I wouldn't be the one trying to go at the bottom. And I was telling the dealer, like, I don't think you should be risking it going down there with that dog in there and stuff. Maybe we can all just pull from this side and stuff. He's like, no, it'll be better if we have, somebody pushing from this side and things. And luckily we were able to get it unstuck, and that, that fence post was one of the saving graces, because it was basically holding the walker from falling any further. It basically allowed us to be able to, unlock the transmission and to allow the machine to be sort of free rolling as well, and to be able to pull the machine out. And between the three of us, we were able to do just that and get the machine free. So that was a very interesting day. And since that day, I've heard from other people who have, had some fun stories to share about things that have happened to them on their very first day with new equipment. Now, the last story I want to share with you guys is another interesting one. This was one where I was at a Home Depot. I was at with my truck and trailer. I pulled up to the garden center And this is like when they have the garden center sort of, in the springtime, full bloom, and they've got sort of that, they'll have like the entrances to the garden center opened off the parking lot side, where you don't have to go through the store to get into the garden center. You can just walk to the garden center because they've got so much stuff on the outside. And as I was leaving, this lady saw me, and she saw the truck and trailer. And she approached me and said, can I get your card and stuff? Would you be interested in giving me a quote for cutting a lawn? And I was like, yeah, sure. Where is it? And she gave me the address and stuff. And I was new in the business too, so very hungry, and was like willing to, hey, I'll go down there right now and take a look, sort of thing. And so she gave me the address and stuff and said it was a large lawn. And I think she said it was like an acre of actual grass to cut. Keep in mind, this is a time where, again, very early in my business, and I only had a 21-inch push mower, but I wasn't going to turn down a customer. So I thought, if it takes me, a lot of time to mow the lawn, it's not a big deal, because, that's what I've got right now is a lot of time on my hands. So like I said, very, very early on in my business. So anyways, she said her husband would be home, and this lady was she looked like she was probably in her 40s at the time, and she gave me the address and stuff, like I say. So I drove out there, pulled up to his house, and this was like this absolute mansion, just a beautiful house, this nice, 1 acre of lawn around it and stuff. It was just beautiful. So I go and knock on the front door and, ring the doorbell, and it's like those fancy, chime sort of doorbells and stuff. And I can hear it sort of reverberating through the house, and, nobody's coming to the door. So I knock again and, ring the doorbell again. And finally I kind of see some movement after a little while, and, the door opens, and this very elderly man opens the door. It must have been in his 80s or maybe even early 90s or something. And he had one hand on the door, and the other hand, he was holding up his pants, and he had his fly and zipper undone and the belt undone, and he was kind of like holding up one side of his pants. And he looked at me, and I said, "Hi, are you such and such?" And he said, "Yes." I said, I ran into your, and it was kind of like I said right there, kind of threw me off, because he was so much, almost twice the age of the lady that had told me her husband was home. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And I said, your wife saw me at Home Depot, and she asked me to come, give you a quote for cutting the lawn. And he said, okay. And as he said it, his eyes rolled into the back of his head, and he dropped his pants. So his pants fell to the ground, and he was just standing there in his underwear, and his eyes rolled to the back of his head, and he completely fell backwards and hit the ground. And I was like, oh my God, did this guy just die on me? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like, hello, are you okay, sir? Are you okay, sir? And at the same time, it was like very uneasy, because I'm like, I don't want to, like, do I walk in this person's house? Do I not walk in this person's house? What do I do? Right. And I was just like, kind of calling the guy's name and stuff, and, kind of leaned over, and he started to open his eyes again. And I was like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay, sir? And stuff like that. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, do you want me to call an ambulance for you? And stuff. And he's like, no. I just, he said I was asleep. And, when you rang the doorbell and stuff, I got up too fast and got lightheaded, and was just trying to get to the door so I wouldn't miss you. And I guess it just was too quick for him, and he ended up, kind of passing out or fainting there at the doorway. Needless to say, I ended up calling his wife and telling her what happened. She was very grateful that I had done that, and offered to call the ambulance and stuff. And she said she would be on her way right away as long as he was okay and up and stuff. I said, yeah, he's he seems to be okay and stuff. He just passed out, but you might want to come and check on him. He might have hit his head on the ground and stuff. But needless to say, I ended up doing that job. And like I said, I had a 21-inch mower at the time. So I think it took me 4 hours to mow that lawn that day. And not only that, but I was using the Honda HRC 216, and the lawn was a bit overgrown as well on that one. So I was having to bag the lawn. And literally going, maybe 30 feet or so, and then having to stop and empty the bag and then push again. And then, another 30 feet, having to bag the lawn again and stuff. So it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be doing a big property like that without the proper tools. But like I say, these are the things you learn as you go along, early on in your business, and you learn, every day is a lesson, and, a lot of fun stories to share like that, of things that I call them just another day in lawn care. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. I know I sure did, being able to share some of these fun stories with you guys, with the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. I appreciate you guys listening, and have a great day.
Yeah, this is just a tree. Kind of like this is just a chainsaw, and you're just out for a nice little stroll through the woods. The Echo CS7310, a bar up to 32 inches long, 73.5 cc's of whoa. It's just the most powerful chainsaw we've ever made. So yeah, maybe that was just a tree. Echo, power on and on.
Do you want to keep the cash flowing this winter? Head over to L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com and check out all of Brian Fullerton's new courses and powerful resources to get you cashing in on that white gold through plowing snow. The snow plowing training course is easy to understand, and you'll learn what it takes to do the job effectively and how to bid, price, and estimate snow plowing for both residential and commercial properties. L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com has 3 new resources to take the hassle and guesswork out of securing your snow removal jobs, plus there's eye-catching marketing materials that can help you secure new clients quickly. Ready to crush the snow game this year? Visit L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com or use the link in the podcast description.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
Hey, a little treat for you today. Some bonus content from the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel.
Rob's out of here. Hey, what's up, guys? Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. All right, a quick question for you that I get a lot from you guys on YouTube and Instagram is, what is our official rain policy? What do we do when we get rained out? Like today, go figure. We've had, gosh, I don't know the exact number, but it's got to be 10 inches of rain in the last 10 to 12 days. It's been absolutely ridiculous here. Now, I know a lot of you guys are also getting drought, which also stinks, but for those of you guys that are just getting blasted with rain, let me just share a couple quick thoughts with you guys. Might be able to help you out with what we do when we get excessive amounts of rain. So let's check it out. All right, guys, well, if you're new here, our channel is all about helping you guys grow a more successful business so you guys can go out there and crush it. And today, we're going to talk a little bit more about rain delays. So I've done a couple videos on this topic in the past, and so let's revisit it, though, for those of you guys that might be new to the channel. By the way, if you guys get anything out of this video by the time we're done, big thumbs up. If you guys can do me a quick solid, really appreciate that. So when it comes to rain delays, the biggest question I get from a lot of you guys is whether or not we mow in the rain. Now, typically speaking, we do not mow in the rain. Now, we just finished up a residential property and a commercial property. It went from a light rain to a drizzle to a little bit more of a heavy drizzle to a shower. So now we're pretty much getting some pretty decent rain coming through. So we had to finish up. So the number one thing I'd say is if we have to finish up a quick couple cuts, yes, we will mow in the rain, but we try not to do it for our residential customers for sure. But for our commercial, we do once in a while. So when it comes to heavy rain delays, right? Sometimes you just get 3, 4, 5 days worth of rain. And it's like, where do you restart? At least that's sometimes how I'm always wondering, right? Maybe you guys can relate. Like, do I pick back up where I left off? Or if it's been raining for 5 days solid, do I restart that following week? Like, let's say it rains from Wednesday to Sunday. Do you start that following Monday with your Tuesdays, or do you just restart from Monday? And that is a tough question to answer because the phone's gonna start ringing, customers start freaking out. Hey, where are you at? And it's like, don't you live right where I live as well? You know, we just got downpours, torrential downpours, tornadoes, and thunderstorms the last 5, 6 days. No, never works that way. They wanna know, where were you at? Why did you not cut our lawn? My lawn is 5 inches tall. All of that kind of stuff, right? So for us personally, we do our best to, wherever we left off, we restart. Now, if it's 5 or 6 days, that's with a 1 or 2 day rain out. Now, if it's a 5 or 6 day rain out, sometimes you have to literally take 2 extra days off and then restart the whole freaking route. It stinks, it sucks, there's nothing you can really do. You just lost all of this revenue, all of this money, and there's no way to really recuperate from that loss of business. Unless you wanna mow in the rain. Now, I have seen so many folks out there mow grass sun up to sundown when it's pouring rain, or not sun up to sundown, but from 8 to 5, they're just mowing grass, just chunks of grass, wet grass, just leaving trails of grass everywhere. And I'm like, how can you do that? How can you do that? Now, I'm not putting anybody down that do that. Sometimes you got to get work done. I totally get it. In fact, just last week, our apartment complex that my wife and I live in, those guys were out there. We had got 3 inches of rain, huge mega storm came through for 12 hours straight. Those guys were out there that evening at 5 p.m. for about 3 extra hours of daylight mowing, and they're just hopping around, and the grass is all getting all slushy and muddy, and all the different walkway passes, and the mowers tracking all over the place. And I'm like, oh, my heart hurt just watching it happen. But those guys probably had a full schedule, and they had to do whatever they had to do. One thing I will say is that sometimes not mowing grass, sometimes taking a loss in immediate revenue will actually pay bigger dividends for you long term, right? By not cutting the grass this week, letting the grass dry up, educating the customer that it's going to be more beneficial to just let it dry out. Maybe they just for whatever reason don't understand that you can't mow when it's wet, is going to pay a bigger dividend for you by keeping that customer for years on end versus just trying to make that extra 50, 60, 80 bucks, cutting it that next day when you're gonna track up the whole property, leave some huge ruts, all that kind of stuff, right? So for us personally, if we give it a heavy thunderstorm or rain out for the day, we try to come back the next day or 2 days later, we let it dry up. If we get a quick passing shower, frankly, we always go to lunch. We go get breakfast or lunch. We try to look at the weather schedule on our phones, look at the hourly forecast. Hey, it's gonna come down at 2 p.m. Well, if we normally take breakfast or lunch at 11 or 12, not today, right? We're gonna work all the way till 2, then let it rain, and then we'll evaluate. Are we done for the day, or are we gonna let it dry up for an hour or 2 and then go mow until 5 or 6 p.m.? That's the kind of stuff that we do. If it's a passing shower, we can normally go right back out. But if it's a hardcore rain out, then we're gonna come back the next day or 2 days later. So it's really a juggling act. It's really a balancing act with all of your customers, residential or commercial. The biggest thing I can tell you, and this is true with a lot of things in life, communicate, communicate, communicate. Have your customers on an email newsletter, have your customers on an email blast, a text message blast, whatever CRM you guys use. They have all these different services. The biggest thing is just communicate. In fact, last thing I'll say is some of you guys do get these thunderstorms, these tornadoes, the hurricanes, and the tropical storms, right? Especially a lot of you down south. It's okay to communicate to your customers that lawn service is gonna be postponed for 2 weeks. For crying out loud, you guys are dealing with hurricanes and boarding up windows and torrential downpours, and trees are all knocked over anyway. People get it. People get it. The biggest thing is just communicate, okay? So that's all I got for you, just short and sweet. Let the lawns dry up. Okay, don't be so quick to get back out there unless your lawns are very, very flat. A lot of ours are very flat. We can get a good thunderstorm. 2 hours later, the grass is dried up and we're back out there. But all of our lawns are flat, like by design. Not everybody has that opportunity. If you got hills and slopes and drainage ditches and just the frustration of muddy tracks and ruts and divots, or a mower going and getting stuck, that's gonna cost you a couple hours. Save yourself the headache, go home, take a nap, go home, go date the wife, take her out to a movie, go watch the next Avengers movie, something like that. Go work on equipment, that kind of stuff. That's what we do when we get heavy downpours. Frankly, I said this on a video before, I go take a nap. I go take a nap for an hour or two because we are go, go, go. I think that's God's way of slowing us down and saying, hey, let me give you a little bit of margin. You've been going pretty hard. Let's slow down just a little bit here. Enjoy some time with the family. And then we all know we're gonna have to put in those hours to play catch up. In fact, just now, Rob was leaving and I said, hey dude, Wednesday we're probably gonna work a 12 or 13 hour day. We gotta play catch up. There's so many hours that have to get put into the business to get the lawns done. Don't be surprised if on Wednesday we gotta work a 13-hour day. And he said, I get it. Let's do it. So now you guys know our official policy when it comes to rain and rain outs. I'd love to hear what you guys do. Leave me some comments down below. Really appreciate the support as well. And if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Our channel is all about helping you guys grow a more successful lawn and landscaping business so you guys can go out there and crush it. So big thumbs up if you guys enjoyed this quick clip. Also, check out these other quick YouTube videos. You guys might enjoy these as well. Guys, Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. We'll look forward to catching up with you guys on the next one.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.